My home country, South Africa, one of the most amazing places in the world. It is quite possible all humanity originated from here. Referred to as the cradle of humankind, but human wasn't always kind for my people. In many ways, we serve as the world's mirror of a greater human struggle. My country has many lessons for humanity. As we strive for a world of equality and to alleviate poverty, we must create access to quality education for everyone and empower people with sustainable employment. The voice of peace and justice is louder and clearer than any time in history. It's time to be bold with our voices and positive in our actions. The Enactus World Cup was held in Johannesburg, South Africa in 2015. And you proved to my country you are bold and brave in your actions. I know. I was there. With passionate hearts and focused minds, you are capable of turning our world around. And you are not alone. This is about all of us. What counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we lead. Madiba passed the baton to the youth of my country and our world to carry forth his legacy. To keep the world turning with entrepreneurial action and to learn from our failures, as he said, do not judge me by my successes. Judge me by how many times I fell down and got back up again. After 27 years in prison on Robben Island, where he was isolated in this damn concrete cell, I think of my grandfather, Nelson Mandela, and I think about his ability to embrace all through the power of forgiveness. His willingness to sacrifice himself and his family by looking toward the future gave him victory as the first Black democratically elected president of South Africa. He went on to receive many honors, including the Nobel Peace Prize. It makes me wonder what we are all capable of. As he said so many times, it always seems impossible until it's done. During the 27 years my grandfather was imprisoned, he had very little contact with the outside world. Communication was censored, but his voice remained strong. Outside the walls of the prison, my grandmother, Winnie Madikizela Mandela, carried the weight of a divided nation. As the ultimate freedom fighter, my grandmother carried on the struggle to free her people. Despite her continued imprisonment, 491 days in solitary confinement, torture, harassment, and exile by the apartheid government, her spirit would not be broken. As the first Black woman social worker, she organized local clinics and campaigns for equal rights. In February 1985, my grandfather was offered a release from prison on condition that he unconditionally rejected violence as a political weapon, but he stood his ground and refused. What freedom am I being offered while the organization of the people remains banned? Only free men can negotiate. A prisoner cannot enter into contracts. These were steps in a long walk to freedom. We continue today. On February 11, 1990, a free Nelson held Winnie's hand high in front of the whole world. They were driven to Cape Town City Hall. At this place, he gave a speech declaring his commitment to peace and reconciliation, but made it clear that the ANC's armed struggle was not over and would continue as a purely defensive action against the violence of apartheid. What I remember most growing up is my family lived the belief that education is the most powerful tool we can use to change the world. The greatest education is experiencing the world and sharing these important lessons with others. If we remain passionate and persistent in pursuit of what is possible through innovation and entrepreneurial action, then we are just what the world needs right now. I believe it is possible that we can live in a world where we all win. We are Enactus.
Please welcome the granddaughter of Nelson Mandela, Swati Dlamini.
Good evening, everyone. It is great to be with you for another Enactus World Cup. I stand here proudly with you today for my first time in Toronto, Canada, and I thank you all for your warm hospitality. My grandfather, Nelson Mandela, whom we lovingly refer to in my family as Big Grandpa, made 3 trips to Toronto. The first was in 1990, just 4 months after his release from 27 years in imprisonment. He was greeted by the Premier of Ontario, David Peterson, who called him the conscience of South Africa and the world. His second trip was exactly 18 years ago in September 1998. He was met by Canada's 18th Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney. During that trip, my grandfather was named Honorary Companion of the Order of Canada by Governor General Romeo LeBlanc, just across from here at the Rogers Centre. My grandfather spoke to over 45,000 students. It was an event that became to be known as the world's largest classroom. He said to the students, "The greatest joy has been to discover that there are children in this country who care about children across the world." On his third and final visit in November 2001, he was given the Honorary Citizenship of Canada Award by the Government of Canada. And later he received an honorary doctorate from Ryerson University in Toronto. However, it was a different story for my grandmother, Winnie Madikizela Mandela. In June 2007, under different circumstances, she was unable to travel to Toronto. Here, where the world premiere of an opera in her name called The Passion of Winnie, based on her life, continued in her absence. I want you to know that my grandmother, my mother, and my daughter wanted me to be with you here tonight, to carry on the legacy of my family and to share the message of hope, empowerment, and equality for all in our world. Today, the message is being transmitted to many people around the world, including my country, South Africa, where this week my grandmother celebrated her 80th birthday. Her birthday was this past Monday on the 26th of September. And I traveled here to be with you, and my wish for her is love and peace, and I hope that she's being celebrated around the world and in my country. In my country, we have a word, it's called Ubuntu. It means I am because you are. The Enactus World Cup 2015 in South Africa was an amazing display of passion. And now I carry this spirit, this love from my country to you, Toronto, Canada. And I welcome the Enactus World Cup 2016 to Toronto, Canada. In the spirit of Ubuntu, it's going to be another amazing world party, filled with competition, collaboration, and celebration. Your passion will win the hearts of many around the world who will be watching. As my grandfather said many times, a good head and a good heart are a formidable combination. This is how we all win. From my heart to yours, thank you.
No one can stop me.